Hello my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to our /entitled people, where people always think that they can have what they want, when they want, because they're special. And in today's episode, OP's neighbor is way too cheap to pay for his own Wi-Fi, and throws a tantrum when OP refuses to share. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories, don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So this took place the same night that the video game Cyberpunk 2077 was given a release date. Me and a friend decided to go pre-purchase one at my local GameStop. So we go in, make the pre-purchase, and on our way out, we decide to get some hoagies at a nearby deli. On our way back to the car from the parking lot, a Chevy Suburban SUV pulls up in front of us, screeching to a halt. Inside is a woman with at least 4 kids inside the car. She gives me her sales pitch about how she got stranded in town, she needs gas money, a place to stay, and food for her kids. I was instantly put off by all this, and I told her no. She then starts begging me to at least buy her kids some food at the McDonald's in the same parking lot. Even though at the time I had very little money, I was like, fine. So me and my friend drive to the McDonald's at the other end of the parking lot, and she follows us. We park in the lot, and I tell them to just wait, and I'll be back with some sandwiches, thinking I'd grab them some cheeseburgers from the value menu, something that's cheap but will fill their stomachs. As I go into the McDonald's, this little girl, who's around 11 or 13 years old, gets out of the van and follows us in. Now, to say that I was instantly uncomfortable with this random girl following me around in public is an understatement. I go to the kiosk, start ordering the burgers, and I just want to leave. And that's when she walks up to me and she's like, "Can I get a hot caramel sundae with cookie bits on it? Oh, and we also need a double quarter pounder with bacon on it." At that I say, "What? Are you kidding me?" The girl says, "Nope, my mom just really likes it that way and she won't eat it without bacon. For my little brother, mom says you need to get a Big Mac with extra sauce." Now, while she's giving me her highly specific order, a McDonald's manager approaches me, telling me that he'll take my order. The guy explains that the kiosk hasn't been working too well. He then tells the little girl to sit at a table while we complete the order, and I follow him and he opens up the register. Then, the McDonald's manager lowers his voice and begins questioning me. The manager says, "Hey, was that little girl with a woman in an SUV?" I say to him, "Yeah, she was. She begged me to help her with this, and I'm actually here to get her some burgers." The manager then takes a deep breath and says, "Okay, so that little girl has been in here 4 times today with other random people buying her food. Right now, we're calling the police, who've been trying to find them." At this point, I was even more uncomfortable, now that I'm part of some kind of police sting or whatever. So the dude then hands me a fake receipt, and he says loudly to the girl that the order will only take 15 minutes. So I go wait with the kid, keeping my distance. A few minutes go by, and 2 cops enter the building, and the girl's panicking and starts looking for an exit. The cop then yells out, "We already have your mom and your siblings, just come with us." So it turns out that that woman had some kind of divorce with her husband, and she had lost her custody rights due to heavy drug use. She had been given leeway to see her kids and ended up basically kidnapping them and skipping town with them. Now that was one heck of a twist, guys. An entitled woman who basically kidnapped her kids and used them. I really hope the dad got the kids back, guys, and the little girl realizes that what mom was getting her to do was really wrong. With that said though, it's a good thing mom wasn't that smart and she hit the same McDonald's 4 times that day, or else the kids might still be in her custody. So back in 2014, I was a back waiter on a cruise ship in Hawaii. The cruise ship was in port, on the northern island of Kauai, and my front waiter, who we'll call Phil, and I were working the dinner shift in the main dining hall. It was a typical steady evening, until 2 ladies were seated in our section. One of the ladies, the Karen of the story, obviously had a little bit too much to drink, as she was red in the face, was drunk and giggling, you get the idea. During the dinner, the 2 ladies were having a great time. They were smiling, laughing, enjoying themselves, and they were actually quite pleasant to wait on. The 2 ladies finished their dinner, and they left without an incident happening. Phil and I continued working, but about 20 to 30 minutes later, the drunk Karen returns. The woman walks right up to me and says, "Hey, my purse is missing." I replied, "Well, no one has sat at the table you and your friend were at since you left, so let's go over there and see if you've left your purse behind." I then start looking around the table, and that's when drunk Karen shouts, don't you go looking for my purse there." Now hearing her say that, it did startle me, and after a moment of being a deer caught in headlights, I asked, "Ma'am, this is where you and your friend ate dinner. If you don't want me to look for your purse here, where should I be looking?" The drunk Karen then says to me, "You don't need to look here because you and the other waiter took it, and I want it back right now." I respond, "Ma'am, we did not take your purse. Is it possible that you might have left it in your cabin?" Now hearing me say that, it pissed the drunk Karen right off, and she snaps back, "How dare you ask me such a stupid question? You'd think that I would know if I left my purse in my cabin. I know you two took it, and I want it back right now, or you're fired." With her screaming, anyone and everyone who could hear her were now looking at us. And that's when Phil rushes over to try to calm her down, while I went to find the restaurant manager. I filled him in on what was going on, and while walking back towards Phil and the drunken Karen, I warned him, "Whatever you do not ask her if she left her purse in her cabin." I did, and it only made her mad. The manager thanked me for the warning, but he told me he had to ask her that. As part of the line of questioning, he had to do it in this situation. Sure enough, the drunk Karen got even more pissed off when he asked her that question. So now we have a full-scale investigation on our hands. Our section had to be closed down, and the passengers dining in our area were inconveniently moved to the other section of the restaurant, and the security team had to come in and question all of us. And that's when drunk Karen got even more pissed off when the security team asked her if she left her purse in her cabin. After the questioning, the security team split up. Some went to look for drunken Karen's friend for additional questioning, while the rest went to look over the security footage. They told us that this will take some time as there's multiple cameras that overlapped our section. And they also had to not only review the dinner, but the 20 to 30 minutes after the dinner when Karen and her friend left the restaurant to when she returned to see if we stole the purse. But they assured her if we did steal it, they would see it in the footage. So now it's the restaurant manager, one security guard, drunk Karen, Phil, and myself waiting around in the empty section for the security team to finish their investigation. The manager and security officer did a good job of keeping Karen calm for a while, but she eventually lost her patience and she screamed, "Why the heck is this taking so long? I know those two right there stole my purse and I want it back right now. If you delay any longer, I'll call the cops, have them come on board to arrest these two, and I will sue this cruise line, and you will all lose your jobs." Upon hearing this, Phil had enough and he starts yelling back at drunk Karen. I pulled him off to the side to try to calm him down, but he gets more upset and says, "How can you be so calm? That lady is threatening to call cops and have us arrested. Aren't you at least a bit worried that we could be going to jail?" I tell him, "Why should we be worried? We didn't steal her purse." The security team's gonna verify this when they finish looking over the security footage. The purse will be found somewhere and everything will be fine, so we have nothing to worry about. This did little to no good calming Phil down, so I decided to change my tactics, and I said in jest, "Now think of it this way. We're both still on the clock. We're getting paid right now to stand around and do nothing while we wait for the security team to finish the investigation. Think of it like we're getting an extra paid break during what would otherwise be a standard busy dinner shift." Now Phil did not find this amusing, and he yells back, "Why aren't you taking this seriously? We could both be going to jail and you're making jokes? Don't you have any pride? Where's your integrity?" So at this point, Phil's yelling at me, drunk Karen's yelling at us, and Phil's yelling back at the drunk Karen, and things were getting out of hand. Fortunately, a short while later, drunken Karen's friend walks back into the restaurant with a missing purse. When asked where she found the purse, you might have guessed it by now. It was in drunk Karen's cabin the whole time. I didn't think Karen's face could get any more red from the booze she drank and from how angry she was, but she turned 3 shades of red darker from sheer embarrassment. The woman snatches her purse from her friend's hand and she ran out of the restaurant. The friend tried to apologize on Karen's behalf, but Phil rejected it. He yelled out, "That lady came in here, accused us of stealing her purse, threatened to call the cops and have us arrested, and when the purse was found, she just runs out of here without apologizing. What a bitch." The restaurant manager knew emotional Phil was in no condition to keep working, so he told him to clock off for the rest of the night to calm down, and he can clock back in the next day once he's done so. The manager then apologizes to me and asked if I could do the close down procedure for our section on my own. I had no problem with this, and as I was finishing up, the manager calls me into his office and says, "Hey, I just want to thank you for how you handled the situation earlier tonight. You were calm and collected while Phil lost his cool. Please don't think I was rewarding Phil by letting him off early for his bad behavior. You acted like the experienced front waiter while he acted like the immature back waiter, and he wasn't in the right mindset to continue working tonight. And I promise, in the next week or two, I'll find a night to give you off as a reward for how you responded to the situation. Drunk Karen never returned to the main dining hall to apologize in person, but she did write an apology letter which she had her friend deliver on her behalf. Phil was still pissed, and he wanted to tear up the letter in a horrible rage. This time, I managed to calm him down and convinced him to be the bigger man and just accept the letter. Now, it may not be the apology he wanted, but we're still receiving an apology in the end, which is really surprising to me, guys. Karen's never apologized, but she also took the coward's way out by sending her friend on her behalf. And it's also good to know that OP's manager had their back, as we read way too many stories where managers cater to customers instead. And I just want to say one more thing. Do you guys find it so weird that Phil was almost unusually scared, like almost overreacting, even after OP kept reassuring him that both of them did nothing wrong? So here's a little background. I've been an IT person since 1993, and I have a lot of very high-end equipment that I use at home. I purchase business-grade equipment often instead of consumer-grade equipment, even though it's more expensive, but it works a lot better and it's got some really cool features. So when I moved into my last home we were renting, our landlord also ran a small business. He had a single computer that he used very rarely for internet access. I was getting fiber optics installed in the house, and I told him that I would set up my equipment, and instead of having to pay for DSL, which was very slow, he could use my Wi-Fi because it would be super fast. So I proceeded to get my fiber optic service and then set up my 2 access points on different channels, but with the same name. So you can roam around the house and outside the whole yard and have great coverage. I then take my landlord's computer and connect it to my Wi-Fi, and he's as happy could be. And here's where the entitled idiot comes in. So as part of this, my landlord turns off his DSL and sends back the cruddy DSL router with Wi-Fi to the provider because he no longer needs it. A few days later, I hear a bang, bang, bang on my back door. I open it up and I find my neighbor angry, and me, with a confused look, said, "Hello?" There was an awkward silence. And that's when my neighbor said, "Hi, I just want to know when you were going to get your internet fixed." I tell him, "My internet's working fine. Why are you in my backyard?" The guy looks around for a moment and he says, "I always come through your backyard here. I'm friends with your neighbor on the other side, and I always walk through your backyard as a shortcut. It doesn't matter. I want..." And before I could go any further, I cut him off and say, "Hey, don't walk through my backyard. My wife is gonna get scared, and I have a Great Dane, and if she's in the backyard, she's not gonna be happy that you're just walking in, and I don't want you to get hurt or for her to get out." The guy says to me, "I don't care about your stupid dog. I want to know why the internet's not working." I say to him, "My internet's working fine. In fact, I'm using it right now." The guy then says to me, "Well, it's not working for me." At this point, it dawns on me what he's saying. I guess I was slow that day, and I thought he came over because his internet wasn't working, and he figured I knew why because mine wasn't working either. The guy was an older man and kind of gruff with his conversational skills, but it finally dawns on me at this point. To make sure, I ask him to clarify. I say to him, "Are you saying that your internet's not working and you're wondering if mine's not working also?" The guy screams at me and says, "No! My internet was working fine until a few days ago. Now, the Wi-Fi I used to connect to isn't there anymore, but I see a really strong other Wi-Fi named your Wi-Fi." At that I say, "Oh, I see, so the Wi-Fi you used to connect to was the landlord's Wi-Fi for his business. I didn't know he gave you the password, but he no longer has that service. The only other Wi-Fi left in this house is mine." The guy says to me, "I see. Well, thank you for making the Wi-Fi a lot better. I used to hardly get a signal before, but now when I look at the Wi-Fis in this area, I see 5 full bars from your new one. That's great. I just need the new password. Give it to me." Of course, I say to him, "I'm not giving you my Wi-Fi password. You need to get your own internet service." The guy says to me, "What? You have to. I had the old Wi-Fi password, so you have to give me your Wi-Fi password." I say to him, "No, I don't. I pay for the internet connection here, and I'm not giving you my Wi-Fi password." He says to me, "That's not fair. F you, I'm gonna call the landlord and tell him that he needs to kick you out. I reply, you have fun with that. By the way, stay out of my backyard or I'm gonna let my dog out next time and call the cops. So I close the door as he's fuming at me and watch through the window as he marches out of the backyard and into his yard. Of course, he doesn't close my fence all the way, so I go out there in a few minutes and close it. I also pick up my phone and call my landlord to let him know what's going on. My landlord tells me that he didn't even know that the neighbor was using his Wi-Fi. Anyway, the story doesn't end there. A few days later, I start getting notifications from my access points that someone's trying to break in. That's another great feature of the business class equipment I have. It sends me a notice that a device from a specific MAC address is trying to use a program to guess my password to steal my Wi-Fi. Being a geek, my Wi-Fi password is 15 characters long with upper, lower, and numbers, so he's probably not guessing it anytime soon. Just to be on the safe side, I actually block his MAC address from connecting to my access points, and also disabled the broadcasting of the name. That weekend, I'm out in my front yard with my laptop doing some work. My neighbor sees me and he starts talking to me saying, "Hey, I noticed your Wi-Fi is no longer online. I guess the stupid landlord made you take it down, hey? It serves you right." I look at him with a bit of a confused face because I'm working on my laptop, which obviously means that I would be connected to some type of Wi-Fi, but I guess he doesn't think this way. I tell him, no, it's actually working fine. I actually talked to the landlord and he just laughed when I told him the story. The guy says, "No, I'm not seeing your Wi-Fi anymore, so I know you're lying." I tell him I changed it so it's not broadcasting the name anymore. That way, you don't keep trying to break into it and steal my internet. It was sending me emails that you were trying. At this, the guy sputters and says, "Well, that wasn't me. It was probably someone else. Anyway, you should give me your password. It's not fair that I used to have the old Wi-Fi password, and now I can't even use the new one. I don't even have internet right now." I tell him it's not fair or legal that you were stealing the Wi-Fi that used to be here. By the way, I put up a camera in my backyard just to make sure you don't try to go through there again. I see that you've been in my backyard numerous times, and I will be turning over the footage to the police if you do it again, as you would be trespassing, and I will press charges. At that, the guy screams, "Well, F you." The guy ends up walking back into his house while I was still in the front yard. After that, I would run across him from time to time, walking on the sidewalk in front of my house to get to his friend's house on the other side, always glaring at me. I just waved and laughed. I talked to his friend one day about the whole situation, and he told me that the guy had come to him and complained that I wouldn't give him my Wi-Fi password, and he told the guy to buy his own internet connection and stop being such a cheapskate. My goodness, guys, some people are just so darn cheap, aren't they? Why pay for internet when I can steal it? It's also impressive that the guy knew how to use a program to try to break into a secured connection. And at that point, if I were OP, I would have gotten proof and called the cops on him because using Wi-Fi without someone's permission is a crime, guys, and I would make him sweat a little bit, just to teach him a lesson. Alright, so I'm a 22-year-old female and I have 3 dogs, all purebred, and respectively with extremely sensitive stomachs. 2 of them have allergies as well. With that said, I take them to a dog park where everyone's unanimously agreed to not give other dogs treats, unless the owner's okay with it. Everyone except this one guy and his kids follow this rule. I've had a lot of fights with him, and the guy doesn't even bring treats. He brings like cooked leftovers his kids eat and throws it out to random dogs he passes by. Well, a month ago, they brought a whole loaf of bread and they start feeding the ducks in the pond, even though there's signs up not to do that. I only intervened when I saw his 7-year-old daughter handing out to my dog slices of bread. I told the girl to stop and that she shouldn't give strange dogs food, and the kid completely ignores me. I then called the dogs to where I was sitting, and lo and behold, the kids came and started feeding my dogs again. I attempted to take my dogs away and keep them by my side, but the kids still came and fed them. Their dad told them it's okay when I asked them to stop, so they have no reason to listen to me. That's when I approached the guy and told him to control his kids. He went, "Sure, Karen, no one's allowed to have fun around here when you're around." I respond with, "At least I can get my animals under control. Do you want to pay for the vet bills? Get your kids to stop." The guy says, "No one but you minds. Go get a social life, and maybe you wouldn't be this insufferable." So the next time I came around, I brought a giant box of cupcake and handed them out to the rest of the dog owners and the few kids they had along. This guy and his kids came around and tried to take some, but I closed the box. The guy then gets confrontational and asked me why everyone could have some but they couldn't. I responded, because you need to be taught a lesson about giving and receiving food. Teach your kids to only feed your dog, and I'll be more than happy to share my food with you. I did it a few more times after that. Each time, I left them out of it and refused to let them have any of the sweets. One of the dog owners approaches me and he called me an a-hole and vindictive. His logic is that yes, the dad is a complete idiot, but I was punishing the kids as well for no reason, so am I the a-hole? Yeah, in my opinion, OP is not the a-hole 100%. Like, you shouldn't even pet a strange dog, let alone feed one. And I can't believe the guy just walks around a dog park throwing leftover food at dogs. Like, I'm actually surprised he hasn't been on the hook for any vet bills. And maybe, just maybe, OP is being a tiny bit vindictive, but honestly, the guy should not have been such an ass. If someone asks you to stop feeding their dog, stop feeding their dog. Guys, let me know what you think. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our slash entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today. I hope you didn't shake your heads too hard. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r slash I don't work here lady, where Karen gets into a slapping war with OP and she gets taught a lesson she won't forget. If you missed it, go check it out. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.